This is Nicole. She's been painstakingly working and living on her sailboat Arta 2 for the past year in this do-it-yourself boatyard located in the Dominican Republic. I myself have spent more than 10 months total in various DIY boatyards, and in all that time, never once saw a woman work on all the worst projects that are required to get a boat ready for the high seas. But Nicole is that very rare exception, with the drive and determination to attain her sailing dreams not hindered by breakups, a broken knee, parasites, or even dengue fever. She's pushed past it all and done the very worst boat projects herself. The purpose of this video is to inspire more women to pursue a sailing life of adventure by Nicole's example. This is a long video, but I promise you, if you watch through to the end, you'll see how Nicole's unique combination of grit, patience, and enthusiasm has won out against the worst odds. And if this sailing life calls to you, in no time flat, you can follow in her wake. Enjoy. I'm here in Luperon in the Dominican Republic at Tropical Marina. It's a very do-it-yourself kind of boatyard, the place that people like me need to go to. But here, I found one person who does do all of her own work, Nicole. And this is her boat, Arta 2. It's a Bristol Channel cutter. She bought it more than a year ago, and since then has not sailed it, but has instead been working on it so it's ready to sail around the world. So here's the question. So why is it that this is the first woman I've ever seen do all of her own work in a boatyard? Let's find out.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm a solo sailor and writer, and I keep a vlog on YouTube and Patreon. I sail because I want to see the world, and I'm drawn to the unique adventures and comforts that accompany exploring the world by sea. I first got the travel bug during my childhood when my family cruised the Bahamas and US Eastern Seaboard for 4 years. Naturally, the first place I wanted to sail to when I got my own sailboat was the Bahamas. But in order to embark on my own giant adventure, I needed the confidence and I needed a good boat. I found my confidence in sailing with my ex on his engineless Choile 30, and I got my third boat, a Columbia 26, after I left him. I spent a year working and prepping and riding out 2 hurricanes, and then I set sail on my trip back to the place where I had been the happiest child in the world. When I got to the Bahamas, the childhood magic I felt was gone, and my boat was showing her limits. Though it was never part of the plan to sail Arta past the Bahamas, I decided to start a YouTube and Patreon, and I joined an amazing group of buddy boats. The income from Patreon was just enough to keep me going, and I arrived in Luperon, Dominican Republic last summer. Since then, I did find inner peace, and I upgraded to a Bristol Channel cutter. BCCs are built for world sailing, but mine needed some major TLC first. It's been a year of hell in a foreign country boatyard with the tropical heat and humidity, parasites, dengue fever, labor-intensive boat projects, and lack of supplies and materials. I completely tore this boat apart, and then, with the help of talented and generous people, put the boat back together. I have persevered through injuries, sicknesses, an extremely tight budget, the toughest boat projects, and the mental insanity that creeps upon a sailor living on land. But my community on Patreon and YouTube have been there for all the scary and exciting times. They, along with my parents, are truly my biggest fans and have bore witness to my dream coming true. It's been a long year, and I'm exhausted. I don't have much else left in me. But for 20 years now, I've wanted a seaworthy vessel capable of safely taking me to see the world. I'm standing at the edge of my dream, and every time I blink, another piece of it becomes a reality. I'm excited to be able to share it with all of you.
Nicole!
But I've been here for a year.
And in that time, you've redone everything on this boat, haven't you? Now, my question for this video, and hopefully we're gonna find out some good answers, is why are you the only woman I've ever seen doing all of her own work on a boat?
I don't know. Women don't think they can do it, I guess.
Ooh, she might be right on that.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think you can do it?
I don't all the time, and then I wake up and I'm like, I gotta get this done, and I try, and normally I fail, and then I try again, and then eventually I do it.
For the record, that's the same experience for men as well. It's really no different. Well, this is really cool. I want to check out your boat. I want to ask you a bunch of questions. Can you put down some of your work here so we can do that?
Okay.
And what is this, by the way, that you're working on?
I'm polishing my chain plates.
Ooh, and where are those going to go?
Right here.
Oh, I see. And that's going to support your mast.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, let's get into it. All right, Nicole, well, would you mind showing us around your boat a little bit? And maybe you could show us the boat by showing us the projects that you've been doing, and I know it's gonna be difficult, but tell us just a little bit about the pain you went through, but not all of it, because I know it's gotta be a lot of pain.
Okay, yeah. start with the bow.
All right.
There's actually a bowsprit that's supposed to go up there that extends 8 feet or 7 feet,
Okay.
but it's not there because it's being repaired right now.
Oh, wow.
And then this part right here, actually, Daniel helped me get this out. It's the old bobstay. And,
Yeah.
I'm replacing it with the through-bolted one, but I'll have to take this down back to the fiberglass again, which I've done before. I did this entire hull down to the fiberglass and then build it back up with epoxy and then paint over it. And then I can put the new bobstay in.
Wow.
So that's kind of the work that I have to do on the bow, aside from reblocking the boat here.
And let's take a look at this real quick. So you went all the way down to bare fiberglass,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah, there's a better spot on the other side. So the whole hull was covered in blisters like this.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, the reason, I mean, blisters won't sink a boat, but it was all oozing old resin, so I couldn't paint over it. The only option was to take it down to the fiberglass.
Oh.
And so I did, and then I beveled all of these out and then put these little fiberglass patches over all of them, sanded them, faired them, and then this is the barrier coat, and then the copper coat went on top of that.
So I've done similar with my boat, but I did not do copper coat. Those of you that don't know, copper coat is literally a coat of copper. It is the best anti-fouling that lasts like 5 years if you treat it right.
Least, yeah.
Oh, at least. Okay. And I have seen people struggle for it. So I have done more or less what you're talking about. I didn't have to do the patchwork, but I can say, without a doubt, it's like the worst work you could have to do on the
yeah,
boat.
Definitely.
You know, like it's absolutely the
Yeah, because
worst.
there's a lot of fiberglass dust. It's really hot here in the Dominican Republic, and there's thousands of blisters. I'm not even exaggerating. Like
Thousands?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, so I had maybe a 200 to 300 blisters on mine, and that was horrible. You had thousands?
Yeah, because the whole like from here down was 100 deep blisters, so it went through at least like 3 or 4 layers of fiberglass, and then
Wow.
So, and I counted those, but I didn't count all the ones up here. But I mean, it's a 5-foot draft, long keel, full keel, and a 10-foot beam. So there's a lot below the waterline.
Yeah, that's for sure. So that's pretty crazy. And then, I mean, the sanding and fairing you did, what would you say was the worst in all that?
Probably every step of the process.
I remember just
It
hating the
was
sanding. That was
Worse
just
in
the
its
worst.
own way. Yeah, there was so much sanding.
Oh my gosh. So I noticed you have all new through holes. How did that go? Was that pretty easy? The old ones came out, the new ones just slid right in?
Not really. There's a lot more to installing seacocks than through holes, so it was just very involved.
Oof,
Yeah.
sounds like it. Well, keep moving us along here. Looks like a propeller as well is
This
not
is
quite in place.
the old prop. The reason I don't have it in all the way is because I don't know if you've noticed, but the rudder is gone.
It is.
So, yeah, I need to be able to align the new gudgeons with this shaft. So that's why the shaft isn't all the way in, because I will take it out and use it.
Now, I fully understand what the word gudgeons means,
Okay.
but for some of our viewers that don't understand what gudgeons are,
Yeah.
Nicole, you have a very intricate knowledge of different sail parts and also, too, some of the older parts. So, what's a gudgeon?
So this is the gudgeon. It's got a hole in it that the pintle goes in. And
It's like a boat hinge.
yeah. So this attaches to the rudder and it holds the rudder in the gudgeon, and then the rudder can rotate.
Okay. So effectively, it's the hinges of a rudder.
And these go on the hull right here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got a few holes in your boat here.
Yeah, that's for the exhaust. I haven't put a through hole in that yet.
Oh, wow. Do you think that'll be easy, or do you think that'll...
It'll be the same sort of process, just flanged
Oh, man.
seacock.
Oh, speaking of which, the rudder.
This is the rudder.
Can you, for size, for comparison here, I'm like, can you just take a seat on it real quick? Yeah. That's a lot of rudder.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of
It's
rudder.
like a barn door.
And I saw the footage where you had to crowbar this off. Why did you have to crowbar this off?
Well, because I'm replacing all of the pintles, and this one was.
For those of our viewers that don't know what pintles are, because I definitely do, what are pintles?
They go in the gudgeons, and they're hardware that's mounted on the rudder.
Okay.
And these are the rudder cheeks, which I took off in order to get to this pintle, in
Okay.
order to replace this. But other than that, the rudder's done. The rudder had a lot of worm damage, so it had to be repaired, and then faired and painted. But Craig did the rudder repairs.
Nice. Now you mentioned Craig. Craig is a local welder, woodworker. His son works with him as well.
He's from South Africa.
So there has been some help here. Nicole hasn't done everything on her own. To be fair, I don't really think anybody does, myself included. We try to do what we can. But what has been some work that you actually had to pay for?
The rudder, I just didn't have the shop. He actually built a table to repair the rudder, and I didn't have the tools to do it. I didn't do most of the electrical, and I also did not take the crane out myself, or the mast out myself.
Well, okay, I don't think
Yeah.
anybody's going to fault you
Yeah.
for not doing that
No,
one.
but I did the new rigging.
Oh, really?
I did the mast wiring.
We'll get up there in a minute to the rigging, but that's really cool
yeah,
though.
did the entire hull.
How long do you think it took you just to get the hull like this? With the through holes and the copper coat and the million boat blisters.
October to March.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, most of it I was waiting on materials. Like I waited 3 months for epoxy to come in, so there's a good bit of hurry up and wait.
Jeez, that sounds awful. All right, well, it sounds like we got a good sense of what's been going on here, you know, outside the boat. Before we go up and check out the top side, would you mind giving us a tour of the boatyard a little bit? Because remember, Nicole doesn't just come here and work on the boat and then go back to her fancy hotel. No, you've been living here all but like, what, 1 month?
When I injured my knee, I moved off the boat because I couldn't go up the ladder, so I was off the boat for probably 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's still, though, 2 months out of an entire year living here. So show us the place, and feel free to add commentary of how bad or good you think it is.
Okay. Yeah, this is the only time I've been in a boatyard, and I've had a great experience, actually. I mean, it sucks to be in a boatyard, but everyone's super nice, and I'm able to get things done. People help me when I need help, and the facility is, like, pretty decent. People are pretty active, so.
Show us a little bit around here.
Yeah.
What's daily life like when you're here? I'm noticing just some cable going all the way over. Is that normal here?
Power regularly goes out. So, like the bathrooms and stuff?
Yeah, show us the bathrooms.
These are the bathrooms.
All right, we got some tile work, not too bad.
2 showers. There's
2
nice
showers, all right. The shower head is a little bit simple, but I gotta say the tile work in here is pretty good.
There's always a dog or two in here. The toilets don't always flush.
See, there's always a dog or two in
There's
here?
a dog behind you.
Oh, so there is. Now, you'll notice this dog. Hey, pupper. Oh, he just wants a belly rub. All right. You notice this dog's face is white, but the rest of this dog is some sort of a green. I don't know what the story is there.
They call him Rainbow because he likes the anti-fouling paint.
They call him Rainbow
Yeah.
because he likes the anti-fouling
That's
paint.
basically the copper.
That's the copper. Are you a boat paint doggo? Yeah, boat paint doggo. Well, I like that he's here in the shower, hopefully trying to get one.
Yeah.
Oh, and then look at this. Who's this?
This is Kaijin. This is my dog.
Oh, now you've got 2 dogs. I think we're gonna talk about them here in a minute when we get over to the other one who's causing some trouble. And then we've got 1 sink here. Not quite a mirror. There we go. But all things considered, I've been in boatyards that had far worse showers and bathrooms than this, so it's actually not too bad. But you'll definitely notice that, like, you know, pans are left out here, cords or whatever. And I gotta say, like, there's kind of 2 different boatyards in my opinion. There's like the nice ones, and then there's the ones that are do-it-yourself. And the nice ones, you can't do it yourself. There's so many rules, tarp everything, do everything so right. Costs a lot more money to be in those, versus these kind of DIY boatyards I think are, well...
Yeah, I'm breathing a lot of toxins, but I am able to do it myself, so.
Do you think that's affected you, like the environment here?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to get into that in a little bit here because...
I've gotten more sick this past year than I have anywhere else.
Yeah, you definitely have.
Well, do you want to see where they pull people out?
Where what?
They pull people out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So what's going on here, Nicole?
This boat has been here ever since I arrived, and the whole bottom was cracked, and I didn't think it would ever float again, but they've repaired it, and they've got 2 cranes, and they're gonna put it in the water.
It's pretty cool. Dominicans are some extremely resourceful people, so it's cool to see the way that they go about fixing this stuff. There's definitely no OSHA here, but you can get things done a little quicker that way.
This is where they put people in and out. This is the ramp.
That's pretty cool. Now, did they use a crane to pull you out, or how did they get you out?
Well, if it's a big enough boat like this, then they will use 1 or 2 cranes, but typically they use a trailer with a tractor.
Whoa, look at these boat blisters.
Yeah, so this is kind of what my boat looked like, except a lot worse. And I
Worse?
took all the paint down, yeah.
Wow.
This was the biggest unknown because the boat was in the water for a decade, and I knew there was going to be osmosis damage, but I didn't know how much until I pulled the boat out.
Do you regret not, like, getting a better deal on the boat for how much work you had to put into it?
No. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and I wanted to do it.
So wait, hold on. You actually wanted to be in a boatyard?
Yeah, I wanted to know my boat inside and out, and I wanted to know that I could do it, and I also kind of wanted a break from sailing.
There's some crazy reasons to want to be in a boatyard. Now, do you still want to be in a boatyard, or do you want to be on the water?
I'm ready to get out.
Yeah, I can imagine. This pretty cool to see this, but
Do I look
yeah, it
like-
definitely gets a lot worse. All right, so what do we got back here?
This is the trailer.
Oh, okay. How does this work? This thing's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's hydraulic, so they have a bunch of cables that they use to move these arms up and down. Right now, I think 2 of the arms are out of commission, which is why it's taking forever to reblock my boat because they have to move another boat. But normally, I don't know where the tractor is, but somebody will sit in the tractor, and then Isaac will control all of those commands right there. And they'll just align these arms with the boat hull, and somebody will dive on the boat while it's in the water and make sure that they're placed properly, and then they'll just lift the boat up out of the water.
Wow. Good son. Oh, speaking of, hello, Rainbow.
Oh yeah, and then
Aptly named doggo. You're so cute. You are full of toxins.
yes.
I am shortening my life expectancy by petting you. All right.
If it's a catamaran, then they'll put those big telephone poles across the hull like that, and then the telephone poles will rest on the trailer.
Oh, those ones right there.
Yeah.
There, show us that real quick. Wow, telephone poles and some cushions.
Yeah, so they'll tie these, they'll lower the arms completely, and then they'll tie these down to the trailer, and then hopefully the boat won't slide off.
It looks like, did you say hopefully the boat won't slide off?
hopefully.
Has the boat slid off?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go back and check out your boat. Let's go check out the top side.
Okay.
Hey, so hold on one second. I noticed that Rainbow here, which isn't your dog, which is cute though, was just eating and drinking out of the water here.
Yeah.
Are you feeding all the dogs now?
I think so.
How many dogs are here?
7
Wow.
total. Yeah, they all walk with me in the mornings.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
kind of fun.
All right, so this ladder here, tell me about its ancient history.
Well, this is actually my better ladder, which I got maybe 2 months ago.
Oh,
Yeah, my ladder before was missing a rung like this, every other one, so I would be going up like this, carrying a bunch of heavy stuff, and that's how I injured my knee.
oh really? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
show us the knobby knee.
I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, one is not like the other.
Yeah.
And it's your left.
So, anyway, the people who bought my boat, they built this ladder, and they gave me this ladder when they were done working on my boat, and I've been using it ever since.
Hey, actually, real quick, before we go up there, can you just show us your boat? Because it's just over here.
Little boat. It's the one with the shortest mast.
Oh yeah, I see it over there. The little thing.
So it was white when I got the boat, and then the new owners, they bought it and they painted it blue.
Look at that. That looks like a pretty small boat. Not that you're a huge person, but that's also a small boat.
Yeah.
How big is that boat?
It's 26 feet.
26 feet. So you went all the way from, where'd you start from with this boat?
Fort Pierce, Florida.
Wow, that's so funny. Yeah, we were both in Fort Pierce there. So you started from Fort Pierce, sailed it all the way down to here, just like me. How big did the waves feel when they were big in that thing?
They actually didn't feel very big because I just float to the top like a little rubber ducky and then just, yeah, coast down. I wasn't ever really scared.
All right, let's get back to the much larger Bristol Channel cutter here. And just so the folks know, how long overall is the Bristol Channel cutter?
Overall, it's 37.5, but from bow to stern on the deck, it's 28.
Well, speaking of which, let's go check out that deck now. I'm not gonna lie, from my time in the boatyard, I hated having to go up and down the ladder constantly. And then you forget one tool, one screwdriver, and guess what? You go up, you go down into the boat, maybe you find it, and then you come up out of the boat and back down, and it's the wrong screwdriver. Get the other one. Terrible. All right, so it looks like there still is like some damage over there. Are these things you're gonna do while you're here in the boatyard, or maybe when you get to the water?
Yeah, they're not really important. They're mostly cosmetic, so I'm not concerned about getting that done in order to sail. I'm just focusing on what I need to do in order to get the boat back in the water.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be much happier out there, even in the bay, than you would be here. So yeah, run us through wherever you'd like to. You want to start out with the bow?
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, and actually, this is the bobstay that she'll be putting in later. Pretty cool. Well, what do you got?
This is
Oh.
kind of cool. This is the rudder. This piece
No
from the rudder,
way.
The worm damage.
What?
Yeah.
It's like beautiful.
Yeah, it's made of mahogany.
Are you gonna like epoxy this or like keep it somehow?
Yeah, I wanted to make it to a cutting board or a frame or something.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Look at that. So these are worms that did this. That just burrowed their way straight in through the wood. Wow, those devious little things. Now, I'm noticing right now that instead of this being a stainless steel cable with turnbuckles, these are all lines.
Yeah.
Can you explain why that is?
So I had to change the mast height because the mast, I
Oh,
brought
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I brought it to the original height. The mast had sunken into the step and I had to cut 5 inches off because there's some pitting at the bottom. And so when I put the mast back up to the original height, I didn't know exactly the length to put the new rigging. So I built the top part of the rigging, which is all Norseman's, and then I left the bottom loose. So that way, and I have to tune the rig once the boat's in the water because the hull will slightly change shape. But once the boat's in the water, I'll cut the bottom of the rigging and I'll finish the Norseman install, and then I will be able to take the running rigging off. But the mast is being held up by the running rigging.
Wow, there was a lot of good information in that. So one of the things that you said that's really important that I never knew about, and I didn't know about this with mast, so I'm learning quite a bit here too, is that you said that you're not going to tune the rigging until you get the boat in the water because the hull is going to change. The hull flexes, and I don't know whose hull will flex more, mine or yours. Well, yours looks like it's all encapsulated.
Yeah, yours will probably flex more.
Yeah, because my keel is bolted on versus yours is all encapsulated, which, benefit there to that. But that is wild. So you see like the steps that Nicole has to go through to get this done. And I get why, not just even woman or man, but you see how intimidating this all can be. And if you get some of this stuff wrong, you get dismasted and blah, 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 blah. So it's really, really cool. But we'll get more into the gender dispute on this. But I really like getting to see all the work that Nicole's doing. It's just impressive in general. So let's just keep this going.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're gonna have a bowsprit that's gonna go off, and looks like that's gonna be your anchor rollers.
Yeah, this is the bow roller, which I can't remember why I had to take it off. Oh, to paint the top sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are these two just like?
These are Samson posts. It's one giant cleat, so it goes all the way through the deck.
One giant
Bloopers.
wooden cleat?
Yeah.
You got yourself an old boat, girl.
Pretty much.
Yeah. What kind of windlass do you have on here?
Manual windlass.
It's a manual. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. Yeah, sort of similar to mine. Still even more an old school version. Wow, that's really cool. So then, is it going to be chain that's going to go through down into the decking there? Oh, I see that.
Right there.
And then you can put that little clip thing over it to sort of prevent extra water from coming in. That's really cool. How much work have you been doing last year up here on the deck? Has it mostly been down there, or?
Yeah, I haven't done any work on deck, pretty much.
Oh, really? Okay, so this is actually original to how you got it.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because if the original owner saw something wrong, they would have saw it up here and they would have fixed it. Versus in the water, you can't and you don't really care to.
No.
Wow.
And my focus was on the rig and the hull and the rudder. And yeah.
And that's taken you a year with a lot of injuries and diseases and toxins and all sorts of crazy stuff that we're going to get into in a minute.
It takes weeks to get stuff shipped into the Dominican Republic. So a lot of times I would just wait.
Wow.
And do nothing.
All right, well then just give us a quick overview. So it looks like you've got a CQR anchor here.
Well, this came with this is not my anchor. It is. It's just.
I'm happy to hear that.
Not my.
CQR stands for can't quite reset.
Yeah, this is not.
So what kind of an anchor are you going to go with?
Well, I'd like to have a Danforth style, like a Fortress, and then probably a spade of some sort.
Like a Vulcan Rockna or just a Vulcan?
Yeah, something like that.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. All right, so it looks like we've got a big hatch here.
Yes.
And this will all be really good stuff for you to do, I guess, once you are out on the water. So there really isn't too many projects done up here. Besides, I just can't get over this. Look at that. It is just like, especially when it goes through.
I want to mention that I took all of the hardware off of the mast. So, and I rewired the mast, and I stripped the mast of all of its paint.
Wow.
And brought it down to the aluminum, and then,
How did you strip the mast of all of its paint?
With a sander.
Wow.
Yeah, I sanded it.
That sounds horrible. I just want to take a look off this transom here. It's definitely hot here, and the sun's not even out. Often I like to say it's 96 degrees in the shade. It's pretty bad. So you will have yourself a dinghy motor. Do you have a dinghy yet?
I do have a dinghy, but it's kind of falling apart. So.
Okay. Now, how are you going to have a dinghy on this boat? Are you going to have to crane it up and on somewhere?
Well,
what's your plan?
This boat was actually designed to have a fatty knees dinghy, which sits right up on the bow. It's a little fiberglass dinghy, but I can put just a regular deflatable on there, or inflatable.
Did you say deflatable?
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth to what she just said.
Yeah, like an 8-foot dinghy would be fine. It would fit up on the bow.
I gotcha. Now, what's funny is this is such an old school boat, like the wood, the gudgeons, the tabernacles, and all sorts of other things. But then while you're up here, you notice Starlink, satellite internet. And isn't that just the funniest thing?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. You got that while you were here?
I got that while I was here. It's a lot cheaper to get Starlink in the Dominican Republic, and because I have a YouTube channel, I did need the internet in order to upload my videos.
Oh, so. That's right. Yeah, we're going to talk about YouTube channel a little bit here, because that has been extremely important to all of this. Now, this is going to be your cockpit. It's going to be where you're going to be sailing the boat from while you're in here. How many times have you just sat up here and sat right in this spot and pretended you were sailing the boat?
Yeah.
Has that been quite a bit?
Yeah. Mostly just daydreaming.
Keeps
I haven't
the dream.
sailed this boat yet.
Oh my goodness, that must be killing you. So if I'm looking real quick, does this... That's put into there.
That's a main sheet block.
Okay.
So this is the boom.
Oh, so the tiller comes in right between here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. And then you put it off to the side when you want to get to this.
Yeah.
Okay. Very, very cool. Now, as far as like cover while you're here, is there going to be a bimini of some sort?
I'm planning on making a Dodger.
Okay. Dodger, no bimini?
Probably both.
Now the boom's
know
pretty
yet.
low. Are you nervous about taking another boom to the head?
No.
No? Atta girl. And then this right here would be called a boom cradle, I believe?
Yeah.
And why is it set to 3 different places?
So that way you can move the boom, and it, like if it's on this middle one, then you're gonna hit your head coming out of the companionway.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll have like canvas ready to come back over it so that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was canvas that came with it. It was just really old and sun damaged, so I ended up tossing it. I've had to borrow a lot of tools because I have like a screwdriver and a drill and a hammer, and that was pretty much it. So this was the pipe wrench that I had to use in order to get my through-hole couplers in, and yeah, it came in handy.
And thank goodness that we have good neighbors here.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for helping her. All right, now we've got a good sense of the boat bottom, the boat yard, the boat top. Now let's take a look inside, and because it's like 96 degrees in the shade, let's climb on down below. Whoa! All right, I'm gonna do that a little slower. I'm gonna grab the boom. Now, my defense,
The boom's not that secure yet.
Nicole is like 5 feet tall. How tall are you, Nicole?
5'1".
5'1".
Lights on, yeah.
You're going up there.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome inside Arda 2.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
It's not really a home right now. It's a project boat, so it's a total disaster.
that's a very, very good way of
Yeah.
looking at it, and very truthful. All right, well, before we actually get into touring this, I want to go over some things that Nicole's been through and gone through here. So do you mind if we ask you a few questions
Yeah,
and,
go for it.
and then go into some projects?
Okay.
All right, so before we go on to tour the inside of this project boat, not a home just yet, but a project boat. So I think that being the only female in a boatyard that I've ever seen has to come with some unique challenges and unique advantages. So I just want to hear from you straight, like, what have those challenges been? What are those advantages? So start out with the challenges. Like, what are some hardships that you've had to go through that, I mean, have just made it really difficult in your last year here?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, this might not be unique to being a woman, but definitely having dengue fever, that was a challenge. And parasites, I've been dealing with parasites since I got here. So,
What kind of parasites?
stomach parasites.
Oh,
It makes me really tired all the time and constipated, which,
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds rough. Parasites and dengue are not a good combo.
no. And then just getting fevers sometimes, or just heat exhaustion, that's been huge.
Yeah. Now you do have an air conditioner here,
Yeah.
but when you're outside down below, trying to
In-
sand, there's no AC for that.
No, not in a hazmat suit when you're dealing with fiberglass too either.
So bad.
Yeah, I started doing that in September, so it was in the heat of the summer that I was grinding.
No, thank you.
No.
No.
And then I injured my knee from just overworking it on the ladder. I almost cut my finger off with the grinder. Yeah.
How bad is the knee? Like, is it still functional now?
It actually causes me a good bit of pain if I overwork it, but it didn't recover, so I will have to have surgery to get the solid stuff removed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like this last year has really like taken its toll on you physically.
It has.
Like permanently. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not permanently, hopefully.
Hopefully
But
not permanently.
I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to use my finger again because I actually couldn't make a fist like I
Oh,
did.
really?
Yeah. It's fully recovered now, but it took a couple months.
And that was just using the tool, just nearly cut your finger off.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what else? What are some other challenges? Honestly, let me ask, like, what about like your size? Like your size and thereby kind of like a lack of strength. Do you find that like you're too weak to do anything?
Yeah, there's definitely some things that I just haven't been able to do, and I've had to ask for help. But there's been other projects that are just not one-person projects. So it does kind of suck sometimes to be by myself because I need somebody to hold a nut on the other side or to just help lift something while I push something underneath. So I'm constantly trying to just get creative and figure out how I could do it by myself. So I don't have to ask for help, and I only ask for help if I absolutely need it.
Okay. And when you do ask for help, like because remember, we're in the Dominican Republic, we're not in the U.S., like have the Dominicans and locals here been treating you with respect as a captain of your own boat? How's that been going?
Yeah, it's always been it's been great from the very beginning. Isaac treated me really well. He even said, "Hey, Captain." Isaac's the owner of the Boatyard. Yeah, and then there's a couple of regular workers who've just been here from the very beginning, and a lot of times they'll notice that I'm really struggling and I'm not asking for help, and they'll just come over and help me out. And sometimes I couldn't figure out how to unscrew my grinder one time, or I just didn't have the strength to actually unscrew it. And so Wilmer did it for me, just little things like that.
That's cool.
I've been able to lean on them.
And if I can ask you a bit more of a personal question, do you ever find that there's men that are too nice, too helpful?
Yeah.
How has that been? Because just walking around the boatyard a minute ago, going towards the ramp, I noticed, one guy's, eyes kind of lingering. I lingered a little bit back at him, but I don't live here. I don't live here like you do. So how has that been?
Yeah, to their credit, they definitely don't expect to see a single white woman working on a boat in their yard.
It's gonna be a shock.
Yeah, it's definitely a shock. I've learned that there's a lot of cultural differences that I got used to when I first got here, and a lot of it just has to do with their culture.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, well, I was just catcalling sort of thing. I mean, that's definitely not cultural per se, but I have heard that it is a compliment, and it's actually rude if women are not getting that attention, because then they're not that pretty, sort of thing. So
they've been telling you that you're pretty.
Yeah, they've been telling me that I'm pretty.
All right, but it's stop there. Have you ever felt uncomfortable from it? No. And actually, and I have to ask it like this, because a lot of times people say oh, aren't you scared in the DR? It's it might be the other gringos to worry about. Have you had to worry about other sailors being too nice to you?
Yeah, I would say no, really. I'm surrounded by really good people here.
Yeah.
And I would say there's been kind of some online stuff that I've been uncomfortable about, or I've been telling, I would tell some people, some friends in my community, hey, this person's kind of creeped me out. He keeps saying he wants to come to the DR, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to put the word out in case he does actually show up. But
wow.
In general, I was a little bit worried when I first got here, because I knew people were going to see that I was clearly by myself. But I just didn't really put myself out there, and I've been kind of closed off, and people haven't really bothered me.
Yeah.
I will say it's more annoying than anything. When I first got here, I walked into the hardware store to get a tool or something, and I walked in with another guy, another sailor, and I was getting parts for my own boat. He was getting parts for his boat, and they kept talking to him and just completely ignoring me. I mean, I get it. Again, nobody really expects to see a solo woman in the Dominican Republic working on her own boat. So
yeah, it's just so rare everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And I do kind of wonder, even now, just saying and thinking about that, I wonder if solo sailing women are more common in Europe, for example. I could certainly see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not as common around the U.S., and especially once you try to leave and go international.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some of the advantages you might get to go through.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm small, so I can fit in small spaces.
This is a little bit of a tight boat once you get inside.
Yeah, there's been some bolts and some tight spots. It's easy to just be able to kind of fold myself up curve around. I've been solo since 2022, beginning of 2022, and I know one thing that discouraged me from being a solo sailor originally, and what took me so long to get out there, is because I really thought I had to be able to do everything by myself. And
you don't.
No, I found that everyone's just super eager to help me, and I don't know if it's because I'm solo and woman, or if it's just because that's how people are, but I know I'm quick to help other people. There were times when I was sailing and I can sew, and I have a sewing machine, so I would do sail repair along the way, and that's what I've been able to contribute to the community too.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. It's not just because I'm a woman, but I definitely get a lot of help.
You might get a little bit more, but in my own opinion, I noticed when I was in marathon, I remember getting too much help and having to tell people no. I think the sailing community, especially I think if you're younger, you're going to get volunteered help, whether you want it or not, maybe.
Yeah. I will say that a lot of people assume that I don't know what I'm doing, which is kind of annoying, because then they just offer help automatically without me asking for it. And then I just have to balance being polite and being I actually know what I'm doing. Thank you.
You're very polite. We got to teach you to be sassy.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of sass to go back at it.
Just let it roll right over me. I will say that working on this project, no one really expects me to know what I'm doing. So when I do it, they're impressed. But if I also don't do it right, it's kind of not the end of the world. They kind of expect that.
Or maybe they offer some help then?
Yeah. And they'll offer some guidance. A lot of people have offered me guidance and been my mentors. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, because I didn't know how to patch a blister when I was beveling them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned all of this along the way.
It's something that I feel is that a lot of women think that as men maybe we have some innate knowledge or advantage, but I think we're just willing to fail. We're just I just want to get it done, and because I didn't know how to do anything until I did it, until I tried, until someone taught me usually. So it's really cool. And the other advantages you can think of, I know you have quite the background in sailing.
Yeah, I lived on a boat for 4 years when I was a child, and then I moved off the boat when I was 8, and then I was sailing, and I taught sailing all the way up through college. perf boats, keel boats, or like those are the keel boats, 420s, FJs, lasers, sunfish, opties. The whole thing. And then after college, this is actually my 4th boat, the Bristol Channel Cutter.
Oh,
so
wow.
I had an Allied Princess, a Cape Jerry 25, a Columbia 26, and now the Bristol Channel Cutter. And there's different stories for all of them, but I was sailing with my ex on his Trolley 30, and I would say that's where I really got the confidence to actually cruise and to set out on my own, because there were just some judgment calls on his part that I didn't agree with, and I was like, you know what, I trust my own judgment more than his, so time to get my own boat.
The first step is always the hardest. It's really cool you made that.
Yeah.
The people here, it seems like in Loop Ron, they care about you. They want to like help you any way they can. When you show up someplace, I see people are like, hey, you know, or if I show up, they'll be like, hey, how's Nicole? What's going on with her? You know, is she better yet? Has she died? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So they really care.
It's one big family here.
It really is. Yeah, so I want to get back into the boat projects on the inside, because how much would you say by percentage of your time working here last year has been these inside projects?
Not much at all, maybe like 20%.
Still quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now, I hope the microphone can handle this, but it's just blisteringly hot in here without the air conditioner on. So we're going to turn that on, and we're going to try to go through the inside of the boat from the bow to the stern. Let's check it out. So when I've been in boatyards, this is exactly how I had to do the air conditioning as well. You set up this baffle right here for this way you're taking in the hot air that comes up here, and it doesn't just already mix with the exhaust of the nice cool air that's flowing down onto us gracefully. So it's really nice to have that. All right, obviously space is a bit limited here. It's funny, you see all like the epoxy fairing compound stuff she's got on there, but we're gonna squeeze up into the bow here. I've been up here once before to help with a project. I'm not looking forward to going back in here. As you can see, if you're not 3 feet tall, you're gonna hit your head on this. So Nicole's, and then 2.5 feet for this one. Oh, you have a composting toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I like it.
Oh, and you have a little laundry machine.
Yeah, this is new. I haven't really used it yet.
Are you gonna keep this on when you're cruising?
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably.
You're gonna have some stuff. So you've got a freezer up here. Wow.
So my sewing machine.
Yeah. Now this is a lot, and it's hard to believe that this is a V-berth right now. Are you going to be sleeping up here at all, or do you think you'll be?
I think I'm going to be sleeping up here because I'm going to move this on the toilet right next to the wall, and then I'll be able to put a board right here, and then I'll have pretty much all of that to sleep in. That's really cool. Yeah. Oh, and then look at this. So this is the kind of forward hatch thing that we could see before. So this will pop up so that way air can flow into here, which will, I'm sure, feel really, really nice. Yeah. And then I guess you must have like a piece of glass that can go here? Yeah, there is one. I have to find it, but the screen has always been in here since I got the boat. Yeah, it looks like a spider's helping you keep the bugs out. That's good. That's solid. Yep. What kind of a... Oh, man, that spider got a wasp, so you know they mean business. Yeah. Look at those eggs. Huh. Well, anyway, so sleep good tonight, Nicole. Yeah. Yeah, so here's all my solar panels tucked away. This is extra. Oh, this is rigging that goes to the bowsprit. What's the black tube here? Is this part of the water maker? Some spears. Oh, some spears. Yeah, spears. That's right. She does do spearfishing, folks. We're going to teach her a little bit more if we can. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we got a sense. It's tight in here. There's a lot of projects. If you want to lead us. Yeah, let's show you the mast step, though. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. This is the mast step that, remember, it was digging in and it had pitted, so she had to remake it. Yeah, Craig did this. Look at that. He did a great job. So there's like, wow, a couple layers of African mahogany, and this is an aluminum bracket. African mahogany. Mm-hmm. Wow, he gets some cool stuff. Yeah, so this was a really big project, but it fit perfectly. Yeah, no, it looks really, really well done. Yeah. And these are just the cables that'll go up to the top of the mast. So you have lights and things like that. Yeah, they're already wired up to the top of the mast. I just have to finish the install inside the boat. So back here in the living room, I'm 6 foot, and there's some things here that will hit my head. If I stand right here, I've got 1 inch, or I'm good. So this definitely is not a great boat if you're a tall person, but if you're 5 feet 1 inches, about a foot below me, you're not going to hit your head on anything. That's got to be, I would say, an advantage for you. Mm-hmm. These boats are so much more comfortable that way. So it looks like you have been sleeping in here? Yeah, this is one of the pilot bunks. Right now I have all the trim down because, one, it had to be wired, but then also the chain plate bolts are back here. So I don't want to put this back up until the chain plates are back in. But yeah, I sleep in this pilot bunk. There's another one there. And there was a big table here, but I took the table out because I wanted to do yoga on the floor.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess, yeah. I do a very similar thing on my boat, so yeah, you have just some space for it.
Yeah, and then there's a pilot berth back there, too. Okay. This is the pilot berth. And there's storage everywhere, like all under here.
Yeah.
There's a shelf back there that you can't really see.
That's cool. And so you've got your fridge back in here.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a little galley to do things. And so it looks like you're cooking on like a little Coleman.
Well, no, this is, I have enough power to do electric, so I was thinking since
Oh, wow.
the old stove was alcohol and I didn't really want to build a propane lock or anything, just see if I could make electric work. So that's why I have this air fryer and this, obviously the solar's not installed, so it's kind of an experiment right now.
Yeah.
But I did count all the watts and amps and stuff, and it does add up, so.
That's
should
cool.
work. Yeah.
How many amp hours is your house bank? I assume it's at 12 volt?
12 volt, it's close to 500.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So those are all the CCOPs.
Wow, that looks so difficult to work with. No thank you. No thank you at all.
I don't like that. And that's the kind of work that breaks your soul.
Yeah.
And what makes Nicole so unique here
So
in what she's doing.
I'll show you the breaker panel. And I had a professional do this. I know how to do electrical stuff, but I was starting from scratch, and I'm not the most tidy person when it comes to wiring. So I kind of wanted it to be done
nice.
very
Yeah.
nicely. He did a great job.
Yeah, really. Good crimps. Everything's shrink wrapped really nicely.
Yep.
Zip tied together. Trim the ends.
There's more that I still need to add to it, like this one obviously is loose. Can't remember what this one was for.
Yeah. All right. It looks like some of those then go outside so you can see it inside your cockpit.
Yeah.
That's cool how that's designed that way. That's really accessible for an electrical panel. That's really cool.
And this whole thing is new. This whole panel is new.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I see the Victron multimeter.
Okay.
That's cool. Oh, wow. It looks like it's got some horse puppies to it.
It's 27 horsepower.
27. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a new alternator that's on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a serpentine pulley conversion kit, so that way I can. It's just better if you have a bigger alternator, and then the alternator regulator still has to be put in. But I cleaned the heat exchanger, and then the raw water pump is somewhere over there. But now that I have the key, I can actually put it in, and that's pretty much all that I've done on the diesel maintenance right now. But I have everything else that I need to do in order to finish the diesel maintenance. But I also need to replace the motor mounts, and I have the new motor mounts in hand. Finally, it took a little while for them to get here, like a year.
That's probably going to be a difficult job replacing motor mounts. You have to pick the engine up a little bit, or do you just kind of wedge it?
It's not gonna be that. I've talked to people who've done it before. You just kind of shimmy up the motor somehow. It's best to do it when the shaft isn't in, obviously.
Yeah.
And then you just lower it back down onto the motor mounts.
Okay.
But I was also thinking about just taking the whole motor out and putting it right here. Since I've never had a diesel before. I've only had outboards, and then it would give me the opportunity to really work on it and to get to know the engine and also paint it. And then I could replace the motor mounts, put it back in. Like, I could go all out if I wanted to, or I could just make it easy and just keep it here and then have to sit in the engine compartment and a bunch of stuff.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. I haven't really thought about the diesel yet.
Yeah.
I could do that in the water.
Yeah, for real. That's a lot. All right. Well, in that case, I want to move on to a Q&A session where we're going to fire through and really get to the nuts and bolts of the whole purpose of this video. Why is Nicole the only woman I've seen really doing work in a boatyard? How did that happen? All right, so this is the Q&A section where we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. I have 26 questions that I've come up, and a few of which that you've come up with as well. Just to try to wrap our heads around this whole thing of why is Nicole the only woman I've ever seen in a boatyard really working. Question number 1 is, have you ever seen another woman in a boatyard really working hard?
No, not in person. I know of one friend. Well, I know, like, there's Amy and then my friend MT. They've done little boat projects. MT, I think, found her boat in the yard, but yeah, nothing to the extent of what I've done.
A full boat refit.
Yeah, like this is a full boat refit.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, just your best guess. It's a bias, and both of this really is. Even the title of this video is really just my opinion, my own perception. So for you, why do you think it is? Like, why aren't there more women? I mean, I guess it comes down to more women solo sailing, more women being the captain that take charge, do it all. And why aren't we seeing more women in boatyards?
Yeah, so from personal experience, I was looking for a guy to go sailing with, and I went through a couple of breakups and then decided I'm just going to go myself. So it's one thing to go sailing solo, but then it's a whole other thing to do a refit or to work on your boat by yourself. And I know for me, I had to learn a lot because I didn't have the skill set. So, I mean, that could probably be part of it is women just don't feel they have the skill set, or it sucks, it's hard work, or they don't think they can do it. That's speaking from experience.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have a partner who's twice as strong as me, twice more likely to get dirty and not mind it, it'd be kind of hard to say no to when you had that job coming up. You know, it'd be a nice thing to have around. So, what made you want to become an ocean-faring sailor and cruiser? And it sounds like you didn't want to solo sail, but it worked out that way, and you've been happy with it, and you feel very motivated towards it. But where did this all come from? Why do you want to sail so badly?
I lived on a boat when I was a kid, and that's where it started. And I've always loved to travel and see the world, and I love to sail. And it's also, in my mind, more affordable than buying a house and having a car. And then, I mean, my boat is my home, my office, my vacation spot. It's everything. So it just makes sense to me. And I love sailing. I love the water. I love the ocean. I have a tattoo of the ocean on my wrist. This is what I got in New York. Yeah, when I thought I was going to go insane.
When you thought what?
I was going to go insane. I needed to remember how much I loved the ocean in New York City. There's not a lot of ocean.
Oh, there is, but you just don't want to be in it.
No. I mean, I walked by the Hudson River, but
that's not ocean. That's no good. So you obviously know what you're doing here. Can you go into a little bit of detail about what your sailing experience was like before you ever bought a boat?
Yeah, I grew up sailing, taught sailing. I'm a Coast Guard captain, so I have my 6-pack captain's license.
Oh.
And just, it comes as naturally to me as breathing just because I've been doing it for my whole life. So sailing was no problem for me. The confidence to go sailing was difficult, and then the boat projects was difficult, but the actual sailing is,
that's cool.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sailing isn't that hard. Like, you just do it a few times and you're like, oh, now I get it. I mean, I'm sure sailing well, though. Like, you know how to adjust and tune and trim just right. That's cool.
Yeah.
This is actually a question that you came up with, and I really like this. It's, what was your biggest misconception before you went off and sailed on your own?
I definitely thought, well, first of all, I was going to be by myself and nobody was going to help me, and it was also going to be too dangerous, like I would die or there would be a lot of bad weather. And both of those were not the case. Lots of people helped me, and I really didn't get into any types. Well, I did on my old boat, but kind of.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's really.
So what would you say is the most difficult challenge that you've gone through since you've been sailing to get here? The one that put you the closest to quitting, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, not having a working motor when I first got my boat. It worked when I got it, and I sailed it down from Jacksonville to Fort Pierce. Actually, my ex helped me sail. And then I got to Fort Pierce, and it wasn't really working, and I spent half a year working on it and got it working, and then it just didn't work all the way down to Key West, where I ended up getting a new motor.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And at one point you got caught out in a storm, didn't you, and almost wrecked the whole boat?
Yeah, pretty much. I got too many crab pots on my rudder when I was heading towards the dry Tortugas, and I was sailing on the windward shore, so I ended up anchored on the wrong side of the island, so if my anchor hadn't held, I would have been washed ashore, and it was not the best of conditions, for sure.
And how'd you get over that? Because that must have been like a mental moment of like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, yeah, it was embarrassing to come back into Key West the next day and be towed in and have all my neighbors be like, wait, what happened? We thought you were going to Dry Tortugas.
Yeah.
I knew I could do it. I knew I could get another motor, and I ended up asking for help, and I ended up getting a motor.
Who has inspired you to do this? Is there anybody that maybe wasn't the direct inspiration for what you've done, but somebody you look up to, a role model of sorts?
Yeah, I would say Wind Hippie. I first found out about her in, I don't know, I guess 2022 when I was working on my Columbia 26. And somebody I was dating at the time said, you should start a YouTube channel. And I was like, no, because I would only put raw content out. I don't do any clickbait, that sort of thing. And he was like, no, you remind me of Wind Hippie. So I looked her up, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I remember watching one of her videos when I was really struggling with something on my boat and really just wanted to throw in the towel, and she was doing something much more difficult. And I was like, okay, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And that was that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Even sailing YouTubers get inspiration from sailing YouTubers, for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say has been your happiest moment as a solo sailor?
Getting to the Bahamas, since I hadn't been there for 2 decades pretty much. The last time I was there was when I was 10, and I got back there when I was 27. And yeah, just crossing the Gulf Stream. Also sitting on my bow and with my autopilot, just not a care in the world, just sailing.
It's a good
Feels
feeling.
really good.
All right, this next question is, I don't know if controversial, but more so that I think a lot of people must ask and wonder. I'm going to kind of combine two because they're kind of the same thing in a way. Are you ever afraid of pirates or, for lack of a better term, creepy men and things like that? Is that a real concern for you?
I try to be aware of my surroundings, but also travel with people that I know. So, for instance, when I sailed here, I was with a bunch of buddy boats. I knew some people from Fort Pierce, and they always looked out for me. I would say if I was by myself, there was actually one person that I took a risk with, where I was buddy boating with him, and it was just him. We had mutual friends, but I didn't know him very well, and anything could have happened. But that was the only time I felt a little on my guard, like unsafe, just because I was aware that anything could happen at sea, even if somebody says they're a good person.
Yeah, something to watch out for.
Yeah.
And I know you've said even, walking through the woods here in Luperon at night and things like that.
Yeah.
Things happen. So what are some steps that you've taken? I mean, besides being a good judge of character, which is difficult at best. So besides being a good judge of character of other men, which is difficult at best, what are some practical ways you've been able to defend yourself or prepare to defend yourself in case something does happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dado's been teaching me some knife fighting, and he's actually let me his knife.
Yeah, no, we've been doing quite a few knife fighting sessions as well as other defense sessions as well. There's quite a bit of things you can MacGyver on a sailboat to be a very effective deterrent or lethal weapon if need be. Not going to share too much about that on camera. Might make a video about that later. Might not for legal purposes. Moving on. Who or what would you say has been your greatest help throughout your journey?
I would say my patrons, because if it weren't for them, I started my channel in the Bahamas. Without them, I wouldn't be here. I didn't have any source of income, so my Patreon brought me all the way here.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You also make good videos, though, to be fair. You document everything in a very raw way.
Yeah.
And that's very different than myself and a lot of other styles where you try to polish everything up and you're like, here's the real look, tears and all.
It's pretty raw.
Where would you say has been your favorite place that you've sailed to since you've been captain?
I liked the Turks and Caicos, but the Bahamas were nice, but I'm really proud that I got to the Dominican Republic. It was never part of the plan. I didn't think I would be able to take Arda past the Bahamas, so to get here is kind of a big deal. But yeah, it hasn't been bad. I've been here for over a year now. It's the longest I've ever stayed in one place on a boat.
So if you could teleport your boat to anywhere in the world, where would you most want to be?
I'm half Greek, so I've always wanted to go to Greece. I know I have family in Thessaloniki and Garditsa is different from Karditsa. It's like a little teeny tiny village with goats and stuff. It's supposedly in the middle of nowhere, and my mom says I have family there, so I guess I'll find out when I go.
What has been your least favorite boat project?
The rudder. The hull sucked, but I kind of enjoyed it, and I'm really proud of it. The rudder, though, was a pain because there were multiple steps, and like even when I thought the rudder was done just now, it wasn't. I had to take the rudder cheeks off and get the pintle out. So yeah, the rudder's been the most annoying.
So you have two dogs, Kai Jun, a cute little thing, is about 10 pounds, and Boom, which is still a puppy growing at 30 pounds right now.
Mm-hmm. No, he's 40 pounds.
Oh, 40 pounds, my bad. Has that been difficult? Is that going to be changing the way that you sail? Where do you stand on all that?
Yeah, I'm a one day at a time kind of girl, so I really haven't thought that far ahead. I was planning on taking Kaijin for sure, and then I volunteer at the pet clinic every month, and a local dropped the dog Boom off, and I named him Boom, and then I was like, well, I've always wanted a bigger dog for defense, but the practicality of it is it's already tough to go to foreign countries with just one dog, so I don't really know. I've also just entertained the idea of leaving them both here. I don't really know yet. Right now I'm still on land, still working on a boat, don't have to think about it.
One day at a time.
I am attached to them. I feel like one dog would be good to have as a companion, but I'm not completely sold on it. We'll see.
So this is definitely a question I think a lot of people want to know about you, and I'm going to ask it. You're all alone. Don't you wish you had someone? Don't you wish you had a boyfriend or a husband to sail with you?
Yeah, it was never the plan to be a solo female sailor. I bought my first boat with a guy. I bought my second boat and then sold it and left with a guy on his boat. And then my third boat, which was Arda, was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it myself because it seems like nobody wants to live this life. Nobody wants to do it with me. And I'm tired of waiting and hoping. And yeah, I might not be able to do it, but I at least have to try. And so here I am.
Well said. All right, pardon me being so blunt, but why did you pick such a derelict boat to pour your life into?
Yeah, a couple reasons. One, I didn't really have the money to buy a boat that was in turnkey condition, and I knew the Bristol Channel Cutter was a good boat, so I knew if I could afford a boat like this, the investment would be worth it. I could turn it around and sell it if I had to and make a good bit of money off of it. The boat that I lived on as a kid for 4 years ended up dying in her slip for 15 years, and so it's also been an ode to my childhood boat, because putting this boat back together is kind of healing a part of my heart as well. I also wanted to know every part of the boat, and since I am planning on sailing around the world, I wanted to know that every little bolts and piece of rigging and whatever was in good condition, and so what better way than to start basically from scratch.
Every gudgeon, pinion, and bobstay.
Yeah.
She has boat parts I don't, so I'm still learning. There's a lot of different boats out there, a lot of different boat makes and models and stuff, but I wanted to hear from you your thoughts of why a Beneteau sailboat is so much better than a Bristol Channel cutter.
Well, people buy boats for different reasons. Sometimes they want more comfort, and yeah, I mean, this boat is not the most comfortable boat. It was designed after the pilot cutters that used to navigate the Bristol Channel. So this boat was built for speed. It was designed originally without an engine. It's built to sail, actually, whereas like the Beneteau, it's just
what?
A Beneteau.
What?
It's got a good name. It's very comfortable.
It's
It's a very nice boat, but it doesn't compete against a semi-custom hull like a Bristol Channel cutter.
Well, so for the record, I have a Beneteau sailboat, Swai, and it is a very, very popular brand, although mine is a much older Beneteau. And yeah, it's just fun to go back and forth. So Bristol Channel cutters, as I've been learning from Nicole, are highly sought after. Despite their age and uncomfortability, they are great sailing boats, as it's known. What does a Bristol Channel cutter sell for online?
Well, I have a 1978, but anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000 is what you could get for a Bristol Channel cutter in good condition.
Yeah. So I think another question everybody would really like to know is, how much did you pay for Arta 2, this boat here?
Yeah, $25,000, which was a lot for me. If it weren't a Bristol Channel cutter, absolutely not. It would have turned around, but because of the boat that it is, I was like, yeah, it's worth it. And I also negotiated. I got about 20 grand knocked off of the price tag, so
Yeah.
I feel good about it.
How much do you think you've spent on this boat since you've been here in the boatyard? Because that total price will be more or less what you've paid for your boat.
Yeah, about 20 grand, which is what I estimated what I would put into the boat. And that includes new rigging, including a roller furler. This one didn't have a roller furler. A brand new bottom job, new electrical, including new lithium batteries, the whole rudder repair, all of the hardware, which costs a couple $1,000s. Everything adds up. That includes yard fees too, and also I think the payments that I've been making towards the boat.
Yeah. You've been keeping it really, I've seen it's a very meticulous spreadsheet of expenses like that, so it's really cool. You've been able to track all that. Mm-hmm. Do you have any hacks for surviving a boatyard that you'd recommend to anybody else? Like, hey, get this thing, or mental style or attitude to philosophy, religion maybe?
Yeah, patience is what saved me, because I've been wanting things done at a certain time, but I'm just like, okay, cool, thanks for letting me know. Let me know when you can get to it, that sort of thing. And what I've learned by doing that is people end up, they actually want to do the work for me. I'm not on people's tushes all the time.
Yeah.
Like, just trying to get things done on my time frame doesn't work that way.
What's going to be next for you? I mean, the boat gets in the water,
Mm-hmm.
you do a bit of work to it. Once this boat is ready to sail, I assume you're not staying here. What's the next adventure? What's the grand plan?
Well, the grand plan, I was thinking of going to Puerto Rico as a shakedown sail, because it's a U.S. territory. I can get resources there. And then I would sail back to the States and go up the coast, and then cross the Atlantic in like a year or two, and then go explore Europe, and then basically circumnavigate the Atlantic before going through the Panama Canal. That's my big plan.
That is a big plan.
Yeah.
It's going to be some good sailing.
Yeah.
What would be your advice for other women who want to follow in your wake? Other women who maybe they don't want a boyfriend, husband to sail with, maybe they've gotten, for whatever reason, they just want to go, but they're afraid to be a solo sailor. What would be your advice for them?
The big thing for me was just deciding that I was going to do it. For a long time, I hadn't made that decision. And when I did decide, everything fell into place. All of the things that I couldn't figure out on my own, they just seemed to sort themselves out. So yeah, just decide if you want to do it or not, and then the rest of it will fall into place.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much for sharing your boat, your lifestyle, the yard here with us for the day, so we get a chance to tour and check everything out. Now, I want to ask you, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this that are watching, what's the best way to follow you? What's the best way to see what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can keep up with me on YouTube, and it's called Sailing Arta, ARTHA, or Patreon, and all of my videos are current on Patreon. My YouTube is about 2 months behind. And then I also have an Instagram, Sailing Arta.
Everything's going to be Sailing Arta, I think is the way.
Everything's Sailing Arta.
A-R-T-H-A. And what does that mean, Arta? Because I noticed your last boat was named Arta, A-R-T-A.
Yeah.
And this one's A-R-T-H-A.
Yeah, so Arta is a Hindi word for material wealth, or that which allows somebody to pursue her dream. So my boat is literally my Arta. I've wanted to sail around the world and see the world, and my boat is going to allow me to do it. The reason my little boat was just named ARTA is because I didn't want people saying Artha, and I also knew she wasn't going to be the boat that was going to take me very far. So
you didn't want to give her the correct spelling?
no.
Now, have people been getting the name right now when they say it, or they've been saying Artha?
No. They say Artha, but my subscribers and my patrons know that it's Arta.
Just a little bit between them.
Yeah.
And as well with your Patreon, don't you also do a like a weekly or bi-weekly, like more in-depth like check-in with everybody? You do more than a few things. Like you're active on Patreon.
Yeah, my Patreon's pretty active. I do Q&As for second tier. I also do regular updates and then YouTube early releases. I have a quarterly live chat. When I'm cruising, I do cruising guides and stuff of places that I'm visiting, and I also do a travel blog. So there's a lot of good, fun stuff.
And you keep busy.
Yeah.
It's good to on the water. Thanks so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth look. Let me know in the comments below what women you've seen in boatyards. Are there probably some channels that you've seen working in boatyards? I've heard stories of other sailing YouTubers going to their boat, pretending to work, getting the camera on it for 2 seconds, and then dipping out and paying people. So if you know anything about that, name some names. That'd be interesting for sure. Otherwise, I hope you guys learned something in this as always, and have a little bit more of an appreciation for just, I don't care if you're male, female, 6 foot, or 2.5 feet tall. Like, working in a boatyard and living in a boatyard is just hell. It's just absolute hell. So I don't care what's between your legs. It's difficult. It's what you got to have between your ears that'll hopefully get you through it. So other than that, I'll see you guys in the next adventure. Cheers. 3, 2, 1.
What do you want me to say? Just that I borrowed this tool. I feel like you or the camera.
Camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless we're both in it, then you can look either which way.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. You just keep walking towards your boat and looking ahead.
Okay.
That's how you walk?
No. I got you.
I'm wild. What do you think? How was that last bit there?
Thanks for joining me on this adventure. I hope you feel inspired to begin adventures of your own. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. For an exclusive, in-depth look at this adventure lifestyle and to further support my channel, become a member of my Patreon crew. Link in the description. I'll see you on the next adventure.